Chapter 7. Zoey woke early before the sun rose to get to the Ridgewood Cafe, where she held a below-minimum wage job. She lived on mostly tips, and it didn't help that it depended on how many strangers found this out-of-the-way cafe. She had met Beau in high school and married him shortly after he graduated. She was pretty and young and still is, but she felt as if she was 40 with 6 children, but she had never had any, and she didn't know why. Maybe it was because of the rough treatment she had endured at the hands of Beau and his teammates. They all got together after a football game and ran a train on her, with Beau leading as the locomotive and caboose of that train. After it was over, he brought her home and apologized to her. He had been living alone in a trailer when his father died. His mother had left long ago when he was a child, or she died. The story wasn't complete, and Beau told the story of his mother's disappearance many times with different endings. Zoey forgave Beau, and she thought he would make a good catch. He was the best thing in her little town, but she thought about leaving many times but didn't, because her father kept her close to him until she was old enough to get married. She was 17 then when she first got Beau's attention, and now she's 19. Her mother had left her too, but she died when Zoey started her first year in high school. Turning over gazing at Beau, she still got chills when she saw the back of him. With his back to her, he lay naked. His shoulders wide and his hair blonde. He stood 6 feet and his body built from his shoulders down. An incredible handsome boy then, and still as handsome at 22. As long as his back was to her, she could remember how much she had loved him before. When she was too young and naive to know better. "Do you want me to cook you anything before I leave for work?" Zoey said. She was hoping he said no, because of her exhaustion of working 7 days a week in the cafe, and overtime at night with Beau when he would come home, and she needed extra time to put makeup on to cover the black eyes from last week and this week. The beatings had to do with Beau catching her sucking Tracker's dick in the motel and talking to him at the cafe. It's not like she hadn't done that before with a stranger. But somehow it was different to him because he hadn't sanctioned it, and because he wasn't someone in Beau's motorcycle club. And Tracker wasn't one of his homeboys. Beau believed in sharing what he considered his prized possession, Zoey. He just wanted his friends to sample what he can get every day and night. Beau wanted his homeboys to drool thinking about fucking Zoey, and he would dangle her in front of them where he would control them. Before Zoey could put her feet to the floor, Beau had her by the hair, and he was close behind her pushing his body into her. "I'm too tired this morning, Beau." She tried to say that in her soft, submissive voice. "You're not getting out of this bed until you give me what I want," Beau said. His voice harsh and demanding. Zoey quietly bent forward, and when Beau finished, which took all of a minute, he hit her on the butt and said, "Now get your ass out and go to work. And I better never see you talk to anyone unless I say you can. I'll pick you up tonight. If I'm not on time, you had better wait." "Please be on time, Beau," she said, hurrying to the shower. "The last time you were late, I had to stand out in front of the dinner waiting for 2 hours. It's isolated and dangerous out there." Yeah. Have my hamburgers cooked before you get off. I don't like them cold." When she dressed, Beau was still in the bed like he was most mornings. But he had stopped asking her to get pregnant, and he had stopped checking to see if she had fucked someone when he told her not to. The sun was rising when she walked out of the house and started her walk to the dinner. It was this time when she felt free and would do most of her thinking. She thought of Tracker and how he wanted to take her with him, but she just thought it was something most men said when they passed through the town going to San Francisco, Lake Tahoe, or Las Vegas. She had met many men who promised to come back for her and save her. Most times they left her a big tip, and she never saw them again. She wished she could leave Beau, but for some reason she was in love with him. Maybe it was because she had never thought of being with anyone but him, and she didn't know that men didn't beat women regularly and let their friends fuck them. Maybe it was because she didn't have her mother to tell her different, and maybe it was because she didn't know the difference in men and that there were werewolves, and she had a choice in her life. But she was soon to discover the difference, and that she had a choice. The lights were on at the cafe, and the cook had prepped for the breakfast crowd. When Zoey entered the unlocked door and walked in wearing her pink and white uniform, the smell of eggs and bacon permeated the air inside the small cafe. She liked that smell. It reminded her of when her mother was alive. That smell brought back memories of her sitting across from her father and mother, and they were holding hands and laughing. She wished she could have had that with Bo, she thought. Zoey didn't see all Bo's faults. She only saw her own when Bo so aptly pointed them out. She worked 2 shifts equaling 12 hours or more. It was to make money and to stay away from Bo as much as possible. Sitting down at the counter, she thought of Tracker. It was there she last talked to him, after thinking Bo had killed him. That had worried her, because she had initiated everything from the time she saw him in the bar. Zoey liked the strong, handsome, strapping man. She didn't like many, but she liked him. And she was trying to make Bo jealous because he hadn't come home for a few days. She checked on his job at the paper plant, and he hadn't gone to work. She heard that he had been staying with a girlfriend from high school. One he dumped to go out with Zoey. Now the old girlfriend was the one getting all his attention, and that pissed Zoey off. When Tracker walked into the bar, she purposefully pranced in front of him, and he took the bait. Her mind occupied her all day. She didn't remember breakfast or the faces smiling at her or lunch or the dinner crowd or the salesman who asked her for a date. He was just another face hidden behind the thoughts of Tracker, with his incredible handsome face and body. She especially liked Tracker's tattoos covering his muscular body, like a mural painted on a wall of concrete. It had been a long day, and when she looked up at the large round white clock covered with grease, it was 9 o'clock and still Bo was nowhere to be found. She picked up Bo's hamburgers, wrapped them in foil, and placed them in a bag. They would be cold if he took too long to pick her up. After the cook and crew of 1 cleaned up and went home, and all the lights were out except for a small neon sign hidden behind trees, and after she had been offered a ride home by the cook looking for an opportunity to get her alone with promises he could never keep, because of a house full of kids and a wife, she still waited for Bo because he said for her to wait. Sitting on the steps in the dim light of the sign, she watched as the cars passed on the highway just above the road, and then she saw lights like a motorcycle head down the path and pull into the gravel parking lot. It stopped. "Why are you sitting there? Are you waiting for me?" Tracker asked, smiling. She could see his sexy mouth with bright teeth gleaming even in the darkness. Zoey stood with a small smile, not wanting to let on that she was thinking of him, and she prayed that someone would come along and take her away from all this shit. I, she stuttered, trying to come up with an excuse for Bo. "My husband must have had to work late." "Why didn't he call you?" Tracker said, concerned that she was alone at night. "Don't you know there are werewolves lurking around?" he said, trying to introduce the subject. "That wolf would be surprised to know that I'm not Little Red Riding Hood." She gave a faint smile. But Tracker knew she was the closest thing to her. She shrugged and stood brushing off her apron with stains of half-cooked eggs from breakfast, ketchup and mustard from lunch, and blood from the rare steak she served to the last customer. Then she decided to take off the apron and drop it on the steps. Zoey tried to straighten her hair, to look appealing for Tracker. "Why don't you come with me? I can get a hotel room where your husband can't find us. Or if he does, I'll know he's coming." He stared at her, waiting for an answer. "You won't hurt him, will you? You won't shoot him like he shot you?" "I don't carry a gun." "But he does." "Then we won't let him find us. Come with me." She staggered in his direction, her footing uneasy because of being dog-tired. She remembered her night with Tracker, and it was the best she had spent with a man in her life. But deep down she loved Bo, and Tracker was a stranger, but he had been a perfect gentleman with her, and she felt safe with him. He even asked her if she wanted to have sex, and she had agreed. Not like Bo when she first met him. Bo took her behind the stadium after a football game, raised her short cheerleader uniform, ripped her panties off, and took her from behind. But Bo didn't have what Tracker has between his powerful legs. Zoey wasn't prepared for Tracker's large penis, but she had enjoyed it beyond measure. More than she enjoyed Bo. Tracker was large, but he was gentle. Tracker held out his hand, but he hadn't answered her question about hurting Bo. And he wouldn't. Tracker decided he would kill him if he could get close to him. He had to. He couldn't rest until he had destroyed the man who tried to destroy him. It was his way. It was the werewolves' way. Only Hunter had veered off that course when he allowed the lion shifter to live. That was because Haley asked him not to kill him, and he was in love with Haley, but Tracker wasn't in love with Zoey. She was just a necessary stop or rest spot along his travels. "If you decide to come with me, you can't go back," Tracker said. Zoey looked up at Tracker and trotted to him. She looked like a lost kitten in need of rescue. It didn't change Tracker's view of her when it started to rain. It made Zoey look more helpless and lost. She stood there with the rain pouring down on her, and her black makeup obscuring her beautiful wide blue eyes. Her blonde hair limp and lifeless. She had the look of one of the animals he had chased down, and when he caught it, it had a sad glare in its eyes, as if it was asking for pity, but it was his meal, and Zoey was a female to satisfy his lust for sex. In a way, she was like his food. He needed sex just like he needed to eat. A lust for sex which needed to be fulfilled soon because the full moon neared completeness, and he had this insatiable desire since becoming a yearling. With his hand extended to Zoey, she reached for it. Whenever Tracker held his hand out to animals or women, they would come to him. He didn't know why. Maybe it was because he charmed them with his eyes. The Samsa men had these beautiful piercing eyes, whether they were blue or black like their father's, or green like Adrian's. But they sparkled in the dark, hiding the true nature of a wolf. The ravenous nature that was insatiable. And no female could resist them.